A bad dream. I lie awake, peeling dried red paint off my fingertips. Bob, who accidentally walked on one of my paintings, is licking his red paws. Every so often, I glance over at the empty ring. The claw stick glints in the moonlight. Stop! No! Ruby's frantic cries startle me. Ruby! I call. Ruby, you're having a bad dream. You're okay. You're safe. Where's Stella? She asks, gulping air. But before I can answer, she says, Never mind. I remember now. Go back to sleep, Ruby, I say. You've had a hard day. I can't go back to sleep, she says. I'm afraid. I'm afraid I'll have the same dream. There was a sharp stick and it hurt. I look at Bob and he looks at me. Oh, Ruby says. Oh, Mac. She puts her trunk between the bars. Do you think, she hesitates, do you think Mac is mad at me because I hurt him today? I consider lying, but gorillas are terrible liars. Probably, I finally say. He ran away after that, Ruby says. Bob gives a scornful laugh. He crawled away is more like it. We are quiet for a while. Branches claw at the roof. A light rain drums. One of the parrots murmurs something in her sleep. Ruby breaks the silence. Ivan? I smell something funny. He can't help it, Bob says. I believe she's referring to the finger paint Julia gave me, I say. What are finger paints? Ruby asks. You make pictures with them, I explain. Can you make a picture of me? Maybe someday. I remember Julia's picture, the one worth $1 million, and I hold it up to the glass. Look, it's you. Julia made it. It's hard to see, Ruby says. There's not much moonlight. Why do I have 2 trunks? I examine the picture. Those are feet. Why do I have 2 feet? That's called artistic license, Bob says. Ruby sighs. Oh, can you tell me another story? She asks. I don't think I can ever go back to sleep. I told you all I remember, I say with a helpless shrug. Then tell me a new story, she says. Make something up. I try to think, but my thoughts keep running to Mac and his claw stick. Anything yet? Ruby asks. Oh, I'm working on it. Ivan? Ruby presses. Bob said you were going to save me. I search for words. I'm working on that too. Ivan? Ruby says in a voice so low I can barely hear her. I have another question. I can tell from the sound of her voice that this will be a question I don't want to answer. Ruby taps her trunk against the rusty or iron bars of her doors. Do you think, she asks, that I'll die in this domain like Aunt Stella did? Once again, I consider lying, but then I look at Ruby, and the half-formed words die in my throat. Not if I can help it, I say instead. I feel something tighten in my chest, something dark and hot. And it's not a domain, I add. I pause, and then I say, it's a cage. The story. I looked at the ring layered with fresh sawdust. I looked at the skylight and the half-hidden moon. I just thought of a story, I say. It's a made-up story or a true one, Ruby asks. True, I say. Well, at least I hope. Ruby leans against the bars. Her eyes hold the pale moon in them, the way a still, small pond holds stars. Once upon a time, I say, there was a baby elephant. She was smart and brave, and she needed to go to a place called a zoo. What's a zoo? Ruby asks. A zoo, Ruby, is a place where humans make amends. A good zoo is a place where humans care for animals and they keep them safe. Did the baby elephant get to go to the zoo? Ruby asks softly. I don't answer right away. Yes, I say at last. How does she get there? Ruby asks. She has a friend, I say. A friend who made a promise. How? Takes a long time, but finally Ruby returns to sleep. Ivan, Bob whispers, yawning. What you said about the zoo? How are you going to do it? Suddenly I feel as if I could sleep for 1,000 days. I don't know, I admit. You'll think of something, Bob says confidently, trailing off as his eyes close. What if I don't? I ask Bob, but he's already asleep. His little red feet dance, and I know he's running in his dream, remembering. Bob and Ruby sleep on. I don't sleep. I think about the promise I made to Stella and the pictures I've made for Ruby, and then I remember. I remember it all. What they did. We were clinging to our mother, my sister and I, when the humans killed her. They shot my father next. Then they chopped off their hands and their feet and their heads. Something else to buy. There's cluttered, musty store near my cage. They sell an ashtray there. It's made of gorilla hands. Another Ivan. One morning comes the parking lot, glimmers with dew, and I see the billboard on the highway. There I am, the one and only Ivan, bathed in pink light of dawn. I look angry, with my furrowed brow and my clenched fists. I look the way my father did the day the men came. I am, I suppose, a peaceful sort. Mostly, I watch the world go by and think about naps, bananas, and yogurt raisins. But inside me, hidden, there is another Ivan. He could tear a grown man's limbs off his body. In the flicker of time it takes a snake's tongue to taste the air, it could taste revenge. He is the Ivan on the billboard. I stare at the one and only Ivan in the faded picture of Stella, and I remember George and Mac and their ladders, adding the pictures of Ruby to bring the new visitors to Exit 8 Big Top Mall and Video Arcade. I remember the story Ruby told, the one where the villagers came to her rescue. And I hear Stella's wise words. Humans can surprise you sometimes. And I look at my fingers coated in red paint, the color of blood. And I know now how to keep my promise. Days. During the days I wait, during the nights I paint. I worry that Mac takes Ruby into the ring. He carries a claw stick with him all the time now, but he doesn't use it. He doesn't have to. Ruby isn't fighting back anymore. She does whatever Mac asks. Nights. I close my eyes, I dip my fingers into the paint, and when I'm done with a piece of paper, I set it aside to dry. It's so small, just one sheet, and I'm going to need so many. So I move on to the next and the next and the next, and a giant puzzle. I'm making a piece, one piece by one piece. By morning, my floor is covered with paintings. I hide the paintings under my dirty water before Matt can see them. I don't want them to end up in the gift store selling for $20 a piece or $25 with a frame. These paintings are for Ruby, every one of them. Project. Ivan? Ruby asked one morning when I'm trying to nap. Why are you always so sleepy during the day? I've been working on a project all night. I tell her. What project? It's a thing, a painting. It's a painting for you, actually, I answer. Ruby looks pleased. Can I see it? Well, not yet. Ruby pokes with annoyance at her roped foot. She takes a breath. Ivan, do I have to do the shows with Mac today? Yeah, I'm afraid so, Ruby. Ruby dips her trunk in the water bucket. That's okay, she says. I already knew the answer. Not right. It's night again and everyone's asleep, and I look at the picture I've made. 12. It's smudged and torn and muddy and blur. I place it beside the others lining up the floor. The colors are wrong. The shapes are off. It looks like nothing. It's not what I'm trying to create. It's what it's meant to me. It's not right, and I don't know why. Across the parking lot, the billboard beckons, as it always. Come to the Exit 8 Big Top Mall Video Arcade, home of the one and only Ivan, the mighty Silverback. If I could use human words to say what I need to say, this would all be so easy. Instead, I have my pots of paints and my ragged pages. I sigh. My fingertips glow like jungle flowers. And I try again. Going nowhere. I watch Ruby plod around the ring in endless circles, going nowhere. More visitors have been coming, but not many. Mac says Ruby's not picking up the slack after all. He says he's cutting back on our food. He says he's turning off the heat at night to save money. Ruby looks thinner to me, more wrinkled than Stella ever was. Do you think Ruby's eating enough? I asked Bob. I don't know. I'll tell you one thing, though. You're sure as heck a painting enough, Bob wrinkles his nose. That stench is unbelievable. And I found a yellow paint in my tail this morning. Bob isn't happy about my paintings at night. He says it's unnatural. Now, while I work in my art, Bob sleeps in the knot tag, and he claims he prefers her because she doesn't snore. He says her belly doesn't rise and fall and make him seasick. What is the plan of yours anyway? Bob asks. If you explain it to me, I could help out. He nods at his tail. Maybe I could come up with something that doesn't involve, that paint. I can't explain it, I tell him. It's an idea in my head, but I can't get it right. And anyway, I'm almost out of supplies. I should have known I wouldn't have enough. I kick my tire swing. It's splattered with drops of blue paint. It's a stupid idea. I doubt that, Bob says. Smelly. Yes. Stupid? Never.